seen the blueprints.
Better than that. I've got them on me. If the prison is number 1 on the call sheet, the tattoo is number 2. It's an essential part of the show. It's one of the reasons why a great deal of people are tuning in for that whole cool, ambitious special effect that we've got going. It's one of the most ambitious faux tattoos ever attempted for TV or film. We're gonna have a fan base just for like the bikers and the skinheads and whatever who tune in just to see the tats.
The tats.
Tattoo looks fresh. Hold on. I guess being a diabetic, you don't mind needles.
The idea of the tattoo came out of conversations with Francette Kelly and Don Peruse, who's an executive producer on the project as well.
Do you want your chain?
Keep it.
The only thing you can bring into a prison, ultimately, is your body, right? You could probably trunk a few things, but we preferred that our protagonist didn't do that in the very first episode, or we might not have our audience. But basically, if, which the conceit of the series was that he had the blueprints to the prison, the only way he could bring them in is on his body. And I think it was Francette, actually, who said that it should be encoded into a tattoo.
I had a great experience with Red Dragon. I came across this incredible, incredible tattoo artist by the name of Tom Bird, and asked him to design the tattoo for Red Dragon, for Ray Fiennes' character, who was the serial killer. And he did such a brilliant job. I mean, that tattoo came to life. And ironically, I get Prison Break, and I'm about to direct it, and I say, oh my God, we gotta get Tom here, because part of the concept is that this tattoo comes to life, that you have to be able to look into that tattoo, think you're seeing one thing, and you see something else.
I've been tattooing for a little over 10 years. I was an apprentice, just like an electrician would, or a plumber or anything like that. And I've been in the same shop the entire time. Well, I worked on Red Dragon with Brett Ratner, and he basically called me up and asked me if I was willing to work on another project with him. And I said no problem, and he explained to me what the project was. It ended up being Prison Break, and that was pretty much it. He asked if it was possible, and I said, it sounds hard, but I think it's possible. This was it's probably one of the first sketches I did to show Paul and Brett, just to give you an idea of how you could incorporate a map and hide it into more of a stone-style structure. So I used St. Michael just as an example, because it was still in the same theme that or stuff that they were looking for. I assumed there was going to be some visual effects involved, but I wanted to put the map in there, pretending that there wasn't going to be any visual effects involved whatsoever. So it would be more legitimate, more believable. If they did decide to zoom up on it, the map was going to be in there. The art department gave me the upper and the lower maps. I had to enlarge them, and then once I had the image down of the front and the back, then I had to lay that image over the map and then incorporate it into cracks and various like pieces of ivy and and thorns and stuff like that growing over the statuesque pictures that I did. I showed it to them and told them we could do this kind of thing. And then they go, well, okay, and then we had a meeting a couple weeks later, and that's when I showed them some thumbnails of different front pieces and different back pieces. I'd say probably about a month was where it really took me to come up with the idea for the front and the back. This was the back piece, I think. No, it was. Yeah. The angel's killing the devil, because the devil's bad. You can see the map in there. This is the front piece. You got the devil killing the angel in this one. And again, you can see the map.
We talked about, the duality of Michael's character, and, there's an ascension of angels up Michael's right arm, an ascension of devils up the left arm. And that is to show that, the anthrope, nature of Scofield, which is he's doing something wrong to do something great.
The left arm has the demons on it, and the right arm has the angels. Because in olden days, people believed that your left arm was the hand of the devil.
I kind of described a lot of these things to Tom, saying, this is what I want, Can you give me the angels and the devils and the thing? And he comes back, a few weeks later with this tattoo, and I'm like, dear God.
And the inside of the arms is basically where everything is throughout the series has kind of been placed. Here's some earlier stuff of Schweitzer, Allen, and then the number. This was tricky because you basically, it was the 11121147, then Allen and Schweitzer. But what we did is we had it to where it was like that on his arm. It almost had like a Sanskrit look to it. So he had to show it into a mirror after it was tattooed on him to get the information. Another version of the Schweitzer Allen. We didn't know what format they wanted to use. They wanted horizontal or vertical. There was just a real rough example of one of the original acute poison ideas. Originally for the acute poison, I was going to use an Aquarius style imagery of a woman holding a vat, and it was going to be a little bit more graceful, but I found out the area that I had to do it in was so small. It was going to be 2 inches high. It wouldn't have been believable. When we talked about doing the tattoo super small, I thought it was a bad idea, and they agreed. So I told them, well, basically, let's concentrate on what points about this tattoo do you want to get across to the audience. So we talked about it, and they said that they wanted definitely for the acute poison because it had a code in it, and they wanted that image of it going down the drain because it tells him, what he's going to do with it. So we just kept it as a little vessel pouring into a drain. It was that simple. Here's kind of a location I thought that the acute poison would work. There's different English Fitz and Percy's. There's a couple times during the series too where it was pretty tight deadline, like within the hour. Initially, there was a cross that was going to be tattooed on his arm, and then he was going to take that and trace it out onto a piece of tracing paper and then project it onto a wall. This was going to be the image on his arm, and then this was going to be the thing how it would have looked when it was cast on the wall. The spikes in the cross that were holding Jesus up were going to be revealing the stress marks in the wall. So that's where he knew to drill, and then he could break down the wall. And it was a great idea, and everybody pretty much loved it. But at the last minute, they realized that once he starts breaking down the wall, the imagery is going to be Wentworth basically destroying Jesus. So the network didn't like the idea. So we ended up putting a devil's face. And I just made the stress marks in the tip of the horns, the eyes, the nostrils, and the mouth. Initially, with the playing cards, there was the magician holding the cards, and you see his eyes, and like the cards are covering up the lower half of his face, and you see a little bit of the top hat. But then, because of the phone number being a female's number, and she was going to be the one answering the phone, they said it'd be kind of cool to do it with females' eyes, and I agreed. But then it got down to it where it had to be a certain size, and the room that we had to do it in, it ended up just being the cards. Originally, this was going to be the area code, and then the 555, which is not a real prefix, but they called me back and told me to change the number because what they did is they got a real account for a phone number, and then they put the real phone number on the show. So the guy who likes to pause the TV show and call those numbers is going to get some kind of pre-taped message. I don't know what it was. I forgot to call it. There's some gravestone examples. He hides a pill in the little mound. So this is a couple examples of some of the gravestones. Also, I did Haywire sketches, the crazy guy that's his cellmate. So that was kind of a tough one to pretend like you're crazy, or at least draw like you're crazy. So there was a rough at that. This is was filler, so I just used the like the Sanskrit type style lettering. If you were to look at it in the mirror, it actually says SoCal Tattoo is #1. But you never see it in the show. In a lot of ways, it's a lot easier than a real tattoo because it's fake. You know, it's just TV.
It's my first tattoo.
When you're dealing with real people and you're doing real tattoos, you're dealing with a pain factor that you have to worry about the customer. Obviously, there's no room for mistake. It's kind of a high-pressure situation if you really start to dwell on it a lot.
It means a lot to me. This is a memorial tattoo from my friend Mike Terrence. He was shot innocent last year, so let's say Michael, and he's coming down from heaven, and he's just slaying a dragon. And on his headstone it says "Warrior for the Lord," so that'd be a nice little piece for him.
Most guys, you know, for the first one, they start with something small. Mom, girlfriend's initials, something like that. Not you. You get a full set of sleeves all in a couple of months.
If somebody was financially set and they had planned this out for a long time, like Wentworth did, even at that point, you know, where money is not a problem, the pain level is difficult. Realistically, you're looking at about, if somebody was steady with it, probably about 4 years worth of work.
I think we still got probably about a good 8 to 10 more hours left in it after today. It's really not physically, it's just the pocketbook. It's probably it's like over $3 grand, you know? So I'm like, I hope we get this done soon, because I don't want to be in the streets, you know?
For a tattoo that Wentworth has, at the size he has it, you're probably looking at about maybe like 200 hours. So 20 grand, 15, 20 grand.
I mean, it's gorgeous. I mean, Tom is wow. And everyone's very much into it. I mean, you know, it's a character in its own right. And, you know, the 4.5 hours it needs to be applied every week is, I guess, Wentworth's cross that he needs to bear.
It takes time. It's a process. It's about 4 to 5 hours to apply, 2 people applying it. I can't sleep while we're applying it. I'm usually standing with my arms over my head or twisted around so they can get at various parts of me. It's 20 to 25 decals that fit together like the pieces of a puzzle. And at the end of the day, you have to scrub it off because it's very sticky. It'll last for a good week and a half if you don't scrub it off. And it was a thrill at first, wearing something that felt like a work of art. Now I have a different appreciation of it. I have to remind myself that, you know, I'm lucky I'm not on Star Trek wearing a freaking headpiece or something. That would be a whole lot worse. I'm happiest on the days when I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, so we don't have to apply the tattoo. Brilliant. But I'm pleased to be part of something that I think is cutting edge and revolutionary as far as special effects go.
It looks so fucking real, doesn't it? You can go to like a rave and like, people be like, wow.
Not get beaten up.
Tom's execution of the tattoo and the design of the tattoo and the symbolism of the tattoo are beautifully done with incredible artistry, but they're also helping to tell the story. I was so blown away by the end result of what he created.
I'm proud of it. Obviously, as an artist, looking back on it, I would do things artistically different. but I'm going to do that with everything I do for the rest of my life. I'm proud that they used the artwork for the beginning of the show. That kind of meant a lot to me because it tells me that they were happy with the design, and that's all I wanted to do.
Here he's holding your pen. All right. Could you actually pick it up from the table again and just say this is action. Action. Take two. Yeah!